in Tanzania, out of 350 women, out of 350 members, 126 are women. That is 36%. We had hoped that we would have gone up to 40% in the elections, but the opposition have increased their strength, so they reduced the number of women. And in terms of ministers, there are 29 in cabinet, 8 are women, which is 17%, which is 27%. Deputy regional commissioners, there are 21, 3 are women. District commissioners, there are 114, 31 are women. Judges, there are 97, 34 are women, which is 35%. Magistrates are 1,123, 430 are women. So it needs this kind of drive, that is 38%. It needs this kind of drive. But it's not only the one leader, no. It's the leadership of the ruling party, but also the leadership even of the opposition party, accepting the role of women in having stable, balanced development. That is the key thing. But the situation is not too different, except in Kenya, I have to say. Because in Uganda, parliamentarians are 238 altogether, not only 74 are women, which is 31%. Rwanda, there are 80 parliamentarians, 45 are women, 56.3%. Burundi, 106, 34 are women, which is 32%. It's only in Kenya, they will forgive me, the Kenyan member, they're here. Their parliament has 224 members, and the women are only 22, 9.8%. So we still have a long way to go, in spite of this enlightened picture that I've been growing about our country, at least in Africa. Now, I say that the women leaders of the liberation era, those women who took part in the wars of liberation, must be sensitive about their representation in the new state. They need to organize in order to sensitize the government about that. But they also have to remember that they are young leaders, also youth. I mean, where you've been fighting for 30 years, you can be sure that there are people who were born at the time you started the struggle, who, when you are getting independence now, are in their 20s or in their 30s. And they want to be part of the action. So the question of the role of youth also, they are getting into the mainstream of leadership and activity, whether in the women's organization or in the state organizations, is extremely important. I know it requires a great deal of dexterity, but it's not beyond the power of leadership to undertake. My country has a unicameral parliamentary chamber. But in other places where they have 2 chambers, it's been easy to get the women to get into the upper chamber. I mean, the old veteran leaders, to get into the upper chamber so that they can give way to the younger ones in the lower chamber. That's a possibility. But other forms of accommodation or incorporation can be discussed, and I think you will want to look at that. In the context of multi-party political pluralism, such as obtaining now in many of the African countries, the era of one-party systems is long over, and the era of military regimes is well over, although I'm sure some of you will disagree. But there are multi-party political pluralism. There are about to be a number of women political party organizations affiliated to competing political parties. I told you about the Tanganyika Women's Union, Now, we went into multi-partyism in 1992. And in 1995, I was the first one to be elected in a multi-party election. But as a result, we now have a total of 17 political parties. Of those, about 5 are really active, are represented in parliament, they are active and so on. But each one of those that started after 1992, when we went to multi-party, they all have started their own women's section. And the irony is they are modeling themselves on our organization. So they have a women's section. You can call it anything, but they have a women's section. How well integrated they are in decision making, I'm not sure. But anyway, the fact that you have so many, you have political parties with different women's sections, does require that there must be a place, a platform, where they can get together as women to look into, to discuss their interests and see how they are being served by the structures that exist. And where they can forget about party loyalties and talk about the gender loyalty, which is legitimate. Whether that is affirmative action, I don't know. It's up to you to decide. But we really do think that there is that. Because, as I say, the voice and impact of a united women's advocacy group should be brought to bear on the power structure, especially on greater sensitive issues such as laws and the budget. There, the women have to get together. On broad policies and the national vision, on strategy, on implementation, transformation, social vision, the women need to stand together for their voice and pressure to be felt. It is important, as I say again, to discard the Bakongo saying that women judge well in private matters, not in public matters. An important driver towards gender equality in our country has been the national service. The national service. In the first phase, when it was compulsory for prospective university entrants of graduates, it was totally non-discriminatory. Boys and girls, on the verge of getting to university or soon after finishing university, they all had to go into the national service. And you know what you are talking about, equality, respect. But budget constraints now have reduced the numbers, but nevertheless the effort is still there. It is still there. I think this is an extremely egalitarian way in which to bring our young people together to respect each other. Which brings into relief the question of education and training as a driver of equality. Youth cadres, both male and female, need training. And on this front, we are very backward actually in the region as a whole. You know, someone gets to administer a political party, to administer a political institution, to administer a development institution, without the kind of social training that ensures that there will be justice as he administers this institution. For that reason, training. They need the skills to manage their youth and women's unions in a fast globalized world. Education frees the mind and encourages personal assertiveness. It steadies the will to demand rights, to affirm dignity, and to sue for recognition, to find job opportunities successfully, and to revolt against their unequal position in society. Education. This can be illustrated very dramatically. In my country, we have fairly large pastoral communities and pastoralists, and they are most backward looking when it comes to the question of gender equality. The male child, whatever the difficulties, there will be school fees for a male child and none for a girl child. Absolutely. I don't know about your pastoralists, but countries too.
That is the same.
So this is an extremely serious matter. But we in Tanzania have found that, and because their communities move about very much, it's very difficult for the children to concentrate on education. But we found that boarding schools are the answer. Keep them there. Of course, when they go on leave, you've got to make sure that they will come back, or they don't get married while they're on leave. But the boarding schools do increase the chances of getting more and more women and girls receiving training and receiving education. I know you will say, what about laws? Laws can help, I agree, but to enforce them is very difficult. It's very difficult. But we must try all avenues. That's one of them. Dialogue participants, it's often said that all problems, now I come to our issues, all problems emerge from politics. All problems, but also all victories emerge from politics. Certainly human security of life and property, emanate from sound political and development policies. At the dawn of independence, everyone thought that the end of oppression means that life will be easy. Many in this euphoria persuaded themselves that all problems will be solved by the wave of a nationalist one, that development will be almost instantaneous. You remember Kwame Nkrumah saying, seek ye first the political kingdom and everything else will be added to you. So he thought that just raising that flag is enough. No. In our case, Mwalimu was very quick to realize this because the expectations were blown out of hand. He realized this, and therefore he coined the phrase in the immediate post-independence era that freedom is work. Freedom is work. Uhuru ni kazi. Uhuru ni kazi. In other words, development will not just come like